Yeah, I'm sorry, something happened with the video recorder, the screen recorder, so we have to continue from the fourth building. What is the Casa Malaparta? Villa Malaparta from Adalberto Libera. The Villa Malaparta built in 1938 by the rationalist architect Adalberto Libera in Punta Massilo on the Isle of Capri in Italy. And this building is considered to be one of the best examples of modern Italian architecture. The house, a red structure with the inverted pyramid stairs, sits 32 meters over a cliff on the Gulf of Salerno. It is completely isolated from civilization, only accessible by foot or by boat. The house was commissioned by the Italian writer Curzio Malaparte, whose eccentric character eventually led him to dominate the design process, causing serious conflict with the architect Libera. Malaparte wanted the house to reflect his own personal character and become a place for solitary contemplation of writing. Malaparte, the client, said, "No, I live on an island in an austere and melancholy house, which I built myself on a lonely cliff above the sea. It is the image of my desire." This work could be interpreted as a hybrid of classical and modern architecture. Classical in its imposing monumentary, and modern in its domestic functional scale, which offers shelter and control over the landscape beyond. It is in this particular difference in the scale and the certain dualities created in the home, especially in the way one interacts with nature and in how it is presented to the visitors. Villa Malaparte is a unique, iconic building. The house has the plastic quality of an object, as the geometry regulates the order of the project as opposed to this context. It generates a language that is foreign to its environment, imposing its own rules by giving it a monumental character. Yet it still creates a harmonious relationship with the nature and does not disrupt its environment. This sensitivity also reinforces in the choice of materials, rejecting of the use of the concrete characteristic of other modern buildings of this period. Villa Malaparte was built with a local stone extracted from the site itself. As a result, it is as if the house has emerged from the landscape over which it's placed. The stairs seems to exceed the cliff, creating a new height on it. The interior of the house is developed in a very close manner, yet within the house expands inside contemplatively, independently. It is distributed on 3 levels that vary in length. One on the ground floor is the service area. Cellars and laundry. On the first floor is the access to the house through the south and western facade to the kitchen and the guest bedrooms. The top floor is presented Malaparta apartment, half of which is occupied by the large living space surrounded by 4 windows that frame a scenery outside. The other half contains the 2 main rooms to connect to the studio, located in the front of the house. The program is developed in a rectilinear distribution fashion, favoring the cross-sectional views of the interior spaces. A horizontal sequence of the rooms is generated, so much so that on the top floor partitions are eliminated and one is forced to move one room to another. So this is the planta solarium, this is the top surface with the staircase around here, and you can see another staircase that goes there, and this is the arriving position from the staircase to arrive to the saloon, the bedrooms, the studio, and the room of the client. The main room of the client and the studio, the workplace, is divided from everything, and you can see this line goes through there, the axis inside. The windows and openings meet there, and the doors is also sequence on an axis. This is the basement plan, the baño and the washrooms, and this is the first level, the guest rooms and the kitchen for that, and the cisterna, the water playing that's. You can see the section, the basement, the first level, the second level. You can see the studio of Malaparte, the bedroom of Malaparte, and the saloon, and the bedrooms for the guests. And you can see the elevation of the buildings, the openings is really hectic, and the interior. And above the house, this large staircase leading to the solarium, a new floor that fills the top extends toward to the horizon. This space remains contemporarily obvious to the rest of the house, and it's not accessible from the interior spaces. It is presented a straight flight of stairs without rails, of walls that might pollute the geometric purity and protect against the sensation of manifested most clearly. The staircase is presented as a ritual of arrival to the point at which landscape finally unfolds the interior to the visitors. I hope I can find the picture. Yeah. After the death of Curzio Malaparte in 1957, the house, like other great modern works such as the Villa Savoia Le Corbusier, was completely abandoned, spending much of the 20th century in a state of total disrepair. In 1961, Jean-Luc Godard shot his acclaimed Le Méprise in Villa Malaparte. In this film, the architecture takes on a leading role and becomes closely linked to the script of the film. It was not until late of 1980s and early 90s that serious reconstruction and restoration of Villa Malaparte began. These were led by Niccolò Rositani, the great nephew of Curzio, thereby repositioning the house into the public eye once more. In 1980, John Hajduk with the Domus Villa Palamarta by Liberli is private. It is a house of the paradoxes. It's an object that consumes. It's full of stories without counterpart. It is a relic left on a pinnacle after the seas have collapsed. It is a sarcophagus of soft cries. It whispers of inevitable destinations. You can see how beautiful is the view from the inside. What you can see from the saloon, the beach, the trees, the sea, around Capri. Capri is an island next to Napoli in Italy. and it's really beautiful views inside. You can see the entrance part, you can see the exterior staircase to enjoy the view, to enjoy the horizon and make connection with the sea. You can see the bedrooms, you can see the lights for what is that. So this is the Villa Malaparte, is a really important part, a really important period, a really important spot in architecture, modern architecture history. In the plan divided a special living area for the client, for the writer, Malaparte, the rooms, bathrooms and studio where he can work, he could work, the saloon where he can invite the guests, and under it small bedrooms with really beautiful view to the ocean, to the sea. And this is part of the cliff. It's between an art object and a cliff and a building. That's how you can preserve a little bit the natural environment and not use all the sources, what's there, just the place and what the material, what you need. And this is a really unique photo from the interior, from the studio of the writer. How easy was to write when he watched this scene. It's really beautiful. Okay, let's continue with a Wallace house again from Shigeru Ban. The house built on a sloping side. You can see this sloping side, I'm sorry for the resolution, sloping side, and there is no any walls, just glass walls and glass slide doors. It was an experiment from Shigeru Ban. He believed that the material does not need to be strong to be used to build a strong structure. The strength of the structure has nothing to do with the strength of the material. Try to understand this. Shigeru Ban has shifts from the horizontal living platform into a vertical boundary in one seamless move, blurring the edge conditions that make spatial reading possible. Its Cartesian geometry is deformed to meet program requirements. A field of wall-ground hybrid protrudes into space like a table. The surface formation established a universal floor on which spatial zones are positioned around to isolated object of sanitary equipment. Space becomes adaptable and interpretable in the abounding of specific areas related to the program. There is a shift of interior and exterior spatial boundaries. Rooms that were once public can be private and vice versa with the simple using the sliding windows and the sliding walls. In the house without walls, vocabulary must change. There is no bathroom, no bedroom, no living room. The wall-less design informs the roomless language. You can see there is the bathtub and the toilet in the middle of the space. There is a wall-less space, a no-room zone, a roomless situation, and you can just separate the life of the house with curtains and not anything else. But because it's a really nice position of the building, what you can see here, of course you are neighbors, but the natural environment and factors of the hills, it's easier to create this one. And you can see he used the original sloping line of the terrain. He just wanted to put a slab and some pillars, and that's it. Wallness and roomless. And some text by the architect Shigeru Ban, he said the house is built in a sloping side, and to minimize the excavation work, the rear half of the house is dug into the ground, the excavated earth being used as fill of the front half, creating level floor. The floor surface and the embedded rear part of the house curl up to meet the roof, naturally absorbing the impulse load of the earth. The roof is flat and is fixed rigidly to the upturned slab, freeing the three columns at the front from any horizontal charges. As a result of bearing on a vertical loads, these columns could be reduced to the minimum of 55 mm in diameter. All the walls and mullions were purged to express the structural concept as purely as possible, leaving sliding panels only. Especially, the house consists of an universal floor, on which the kitchen, bathroom and the toilet are placed without enclosure, which can be flexible partitioned by the sliding doors inside here. So you can create the space system, the spatial system in the house via use the sliding doors, sliding elements. I know it's really hard to think how we could live in that kind of space, but this is how the architecture evaluates, how this is changed. Sometimes you have to make experiments and you have to break the rules. And this shape of the wall and of the hill, it's really nice connection and a really nice meeting point to the built and the natural environment. A roomless house and a wallness house with a really beautiful natural view. The next is David Chipperfield Field House. David Chipperfield Field House, Buckinghamshire from the Great Britain. It was designed in 2009 and was built in 2013. It's a multi-awarded prized building. Was in 2015. A pale with brickwork, broad columns and a courtyard planted with trees are all features of this country house in the Chiltern Hills by architect David Chipperfield, which was recently named was world's best new house. Designed by the British architect Chipperfield for a property developer and his wife in Buckinghamshire, Field House is a single-story residence that stretches across a deep in the landscape. It won first prize in this year, in 2015, Architecture Review House Awards, and after a lot of prizes. The house is located in the Chiltern Hills, a densely wooded chalk escarpment of over 300 square miles. Responding to this, the building was conceived as a large earthwork dug into the sloping ground. Its roof is set down well below the level of tree canopy, while 4 sunken courtyards are concealed behind the walls. The site had previously been occupied by an early 20th century house made up of a series of 8 buildings, including stables, gym, greenhouse, and outdoor swimming pool. As with many of his projects from the St. Louis Gallery in Missouri or his own office in Berlin, Chipperfield chose to simplify, creating a single 888 square meter building, all one level, not two level, not three level, not basement. Just integrate the building into the sloping ground and keep the shape of the natural environment, the line of the natural environment. He said this array of structures, together with hard landscaping, had accumulated in an ad hoc manner with little relationship to each other or to their environment. The development presented an opportunity to restore a typical landscape by removing all conflicts features that had been superimposed onto it. To negotiate the changing levels of the ground, the house is built on 60-meter wide plinth. The studio described it as being like a dam sitting on the cusp of the slope. A colonnade frame by 11 round columns extends along the entire length of the facade, creating a sheltered outdoor space that connects with many other rooms inside the building. An opening towards one end leads through the largest of the house's 4 courtyards, which forms the main entrance. It features a paved surface, 3 trees, and more sheltered terrace spaces. The walls, the columns, and the plinth were all built using custom-made white brick set into a lime mortar that was applied thickly, then sponge of a leaf, a thin residue behind. The white color of the bricks and the lime mortar is reminiscent of the chalk beneath the house. They said, one of the hand of the house appears as a natural escarpment in the landscape, while on the other it affirms itself as a man-made structure expressed by the robust brick columns placed in front. These brick walls have also been left exposed inside the house, sandwiched between an exposed concrete soffit and the polished terrazzo floors. The main living room inside is between colonnade and courtyard. That's it. Allowing plenty of natural daylight and ventilation. There is a staff living room and another living room. You can see it's a really long, huge building. It's a really big and huge building. You can see the courtyard, the arrival courtyard, where we can arrive from here by car and enter the courtyard. After enter the house also. Or there is the staff where they work. They can arrive from here, just arrive and put the gods and the stories. There is the staff residence there. There is the dining room. There's the library, studio, and bedrooms to there. So the 2 endpoint is 2 bedrooms far away themselves, a living room, and all these main functions what belongs to the client and belongs to the regular life is connected to the terrace and to the view. So every different function has its own view to the nature and to the sloping area, but it's connected via the huge terrace and loggia corridor. And of course there is a connection between the rooms here. It's a long foyer through the hall there. That's what you can see on these pictures and on this drawing, on the slides. You can see through the building in the public social activities places. It's a paper model anyway, from a student. You can see how it works. One big area there, another bedroom, and the stuff for the living area there. It's really huge, but because it's really flat and one level, it can integrate to the sloping hill and the sloping area. It does not harm the natural environment. Other spaces, including the kitchen, dining room, and bedroom areas, are arranged around the smaller courtyards, while rooms for guests and kept separate on the opposite side of the building. The Finland House was completed in 2013, and the Finland House places a very large house in a special landscape without disappearing. The domestic outdoor spaces, which have always been an issue in English courtyard houses, are in courtyards, which is an innovation. It takes normal elements and manipulates them. The colonnade in the front and the way it modulates the scale on the landscape is very interesting. This was the opinions from the architectural review committee, and the prize was judged by the including very famous and good architects. The house, anyway, located just 5 miles away from the river and the Roving Museum and Henley-on-Thames, it's a perfect first major project in the UK. And it's a really nice solution how you can respect the nature. And this was the last house for today. This is the half of the selection. I think you have already know. I really like the examples, houses what can respect the natural environment, talk, communicate with the natural environment, the sloping, the trees, the forest, the ocean. So all the natural factors, what is really matters. Let's continue on the next class. Please prepare the task 1 because it's really important. I hope you already choose one building and you started to draw by your hand. And if you are interested in these houses, you can find it on the internet. On the next week we're gonna continue it. Maybe pre-recorded lecture or live lecture. Have a good day.